Hello, everyone. Welcome to live in person AMAs Ask Me Anything with Doctors, powered by Ask First, an app built for your health clarity. Today, we're joined by Dr. Avanti Vellala, a fertility specialist who has helped many women with PCOS, fibroids, endometriosis navigate infertility and move closer to parenthood. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Moksha.
So, the format that we're going to be following today is we're going to read you the questions that our users have sent in from the app and on social media. And I'm sure that your responses will be very helpful to them. Okay, so the first question that our users have sent in is how do pregnancy tests even work and why are they wrong sometimes?
See, urine pregnancy test detects a hormone called serum beta HCG. So, very early testing or the faulty kit or very low beta HCG level sometimes can be the reason for the wrong test. So, for the confirmation, we can do a blood test called serum beta HCG.
Thank you. Okay, so the second question that has come in, I've also been a little confused about it. What is the actual difference between PCOD and PCOS?
Firstly, both are the conditions that affect the ovary. So, PCOD is a medical condition in which ovary has multiple immature follicles or the cyst leading to irregular ovulation. So, the hormonal imbalance is less severe in PCOD and it is more responsive to the lifestyle modification. Whereas PCOS is more severe, it has more severe hormonal and metabolic imbalance like high levels of LH, high androgens, it has chronic anovulation, insulin resistance, and the problems that arise from all these conditions.
Which one's easier to cure?
I should say PCOD because the hormonal imbalance is less severe in that and it is more responsive.
That makes sense. Okay, third question. And this is from one of our male users. Can you tell if anything is wrong from the outside, or does a man have to get tested to know if he has a low sperm count?
See, a man with a normal BMI, proper sleep, managing the stress well, having a healthy lifestyle, and no addictions can still have poor semen parameters. So, unless we check it, we do not know.
Okay. Fourth question. Does smoking affect a man's sperm the same way it affects women's eggs?
Yes, a big S. Smoking decreases the sperm count, motility, and also the morphology. Additionally, it causes oxidative damage to the sperm DNA, which affects the sperm quality even though the count and the motility are normal.
All smokers are panicking right now. Do men have fertility clocks too, the way women do?
Yes, especially male after the age of 40, they do have decrease in the semen volume, decrease in the sperm count, motility, and morphology. And advancing age causes the DNA fragmentation index to rise in the sperm, which leads to decreased sperm quality and which affects the fertilization and the embryo development. Additionally, paternal age, especially if it is beyond 40 to 45 to 50, then it is associated with increased risk of certain congenital abnormalities in the babies as well. So even if it's male or female, it's better to conceive early.
Our parents say the same things.
They're so true.
Okay. This is another question. It's a bit historical. Which year was the first test tube baby born in India?
The first IVF baby was born in India in 1978, but the first ICSI baby was in 1994. ICSI is something similar to IVF, but not actually. In ICSI, we select one best sperm and inject into egg. It is very much useful in people with severe male factor infertility.
Thank you for that. Very informative. Okay, this is from one of our female users. I keep seeing AMH test come up every time I research about fertility. What even is it? Should I just go get it done on my own without a reason? And would a low number mean that I can't have kids?
See, AMH means anti-Mullerian hormone. It's a simple blood test. It tells us about the ovarian reserve. These days, we are seeing quite a good number of people at a very engaged with the decreased ovarian reserve. So, it's good to get your fertility index checked. Just like any other blood test, you can go get an AMH test done. If the AMH is too low, it doesn't mean that we cannot have kids. But if the AMH is low, either planning pregnancy faster or considering the options like egg freezing if you're not ready for the kids yet is a better option.
As an experienced doctor, at what age would you suggest a woman go do this test?
I would say as early as 21.
Really?
Really, because these days we are seeing people at the age of 20 also having very much decreased ovarian reserve. The other day I had a patient from an outstation. Patient is just 20. She had a natural conception earlier and she came up to us because she was not been able to conceive for the last 1 year. So when I had done the scan, her follicle count was too low. So I advised AMH, it was too low, which is 0.3 only. So women at the age of 20 these days are having decreased ovarian reserve. Though I cannot give any fertility treatment for her at that age, I advised her to keep trying for the pregnancy. These days in India, after the new law, the lower limit for the fertility treatment is 21. So from the age of 21, we can start checking our fertility parameters as well.
That makes sense. Is there anything lifestyle-wise or something that, causes that shift or makes people susceptible to this younger?
See, because of the lifestyle, the environmental pollution that we have, the kind of food that we are eating, the food being adulterated, the pesticides, chemicals, everything leads to decreased fertility parameters these days. As just like we are getting BP, sugar, heart strokes early in the life, the fertility index is also declining early in the life.
That's very concerning. Yeah. Okay, so this is from one of our users. I've been trying to conceive for 8 months. Someone told me I should check my husband's sperm before doing anything else. Is that true?
Yes, because male factor accounts for 40 to 50% of the infertility cases these days. So we should check both male and female when we are evaluating for fertility.
Makes sense. Okay, this is another user. I came off the pill 14 months ago and my cycle is still all over the place, 40, sometimes 60 days. I keep assuming my body just needed more time to reset. Is 14 months still resetting?
See, we do not know the further details of this patient, but this sounds like a case of PCO. So in this case, using pill will only regularize the periods, but it doesn't treat the root cause of the PCO. So what we have to do is PCO, as it is associated with hormonal imbalance, where we see high LH levels, excess androgens, insulin resistance, and anovulatory cycles, doing lifestyle modification, trying to lose a bit of weight, at least 10% of the body weight, eating healthy. Healthy, we mean to say rich in antioxidants, high protein diet, managing sleep and stress well, and more importantly, being consistent with all these things. See, sometimes even if we start with a lifestyle modification, we'll not be able to do it consistently. Exercise, we do it for twice a week and then stop it. So being consistent is the key here. So all these things might help her reset the hormonal imbalance that she has and help her get the periods regularly on time.
If there were 2 to 3 things lifestyle-wise that you'd suggest that, women could incorporate to have like better chances or better fertility, what would that be?
Exercise at least 45 minutes a day, any kind of exercise that they are comfortable with, at least 45 minutes a day. And see, starving themselves, going on a strict diet is not going to help. So the second thing is eating a high protein and low calorie diet and taking diet that is rich in antioxidants help them a lot.
Makes sense. Okay. This next question is about stress. And this is something that's been bothering everybody. Like the world today has gotten a lot stressful. So very important question. I've read that stress kills egg quality. And honestly, I've been extremely stressed for the 2 years straight. Have I damaged my fertility? Can stress actually do that?
See, stress causes a lot of hormonal imbalance and oxidative damage. So it does affect the egg quality.
That's scary. That's even more stressful. Okay. This is from another female user. I've been trying to get pregnant for almost 2 years. I didn't go to a doctor because I was embarrassed and also kind of hoping it would just happen. At what point do I actually need to go and what will be the first appointment? What does it look like?
So if the couple have not been able to conceive after 1 year with regular unprotected intercourse, then they need to get evaluated. So the first time when they go to a clinic, the primary things that we do is evaluate both. So for the female, we are going to do a couple of blood tests that are required for the pregnancy and that helps us assess her fertility. And we are going to do a scan, a transvaginal scan to see how her uterus is and how her ovaries are. And for the male person, we are going to do a test called semen analysis, which will tell us about the count, motility, and the morphology.
Makes sense. Because things like fertility are a little bit taboo in India, do you get this a lot? Patients who should have come to you before but were too embarrassed to admit it or actually come to you? How often does that happen?
It happens a lot, but I don't think it's anymore about the embarrassment that they have in coming to a clinic. They think that it is going to happen. And they waste almost 12 years, 16 years of their marital life. See, understanding our fertility parameters, and if it's not happening, maybe seeking the fertility treatment early will improve the quality of life also. Because why waste 12 and 16 years of your marriage on hoping that you will conceive naturally? Definitely you will conceive at certain point. Natural conception do happen a lot. But after a certain point of time, if it is not happening, then it's better to seek a fertility expert opinion.
You'd say that cutoff point is 1 year, or
It depends on the age also. So if the female age is less than 35, they can try for a year and then come to the clinic for evaluation. But if the age is beyond 35 years of the female, then after 6 months of regular unprotected intercourse, they need to get evaluated and then get treated accordingly.
makes sense. Okay. Is it true that having sex every day reduces sperm quality? We've been trying so hard that we're literally scheduling it and it's become so clinical. Is there a correct frequency for trying?
No, having sex every day doesn't decrease the sperm quality. Sometimes when we are anxious to conceive and try to time the intercourse according to the ovulation window, it gets so clinical driven. I do get it. But having intercourse at least 2 to 3 times a week or alternate day during the ovulation window is more beneficial for the couple. It helps them conceive better.
This ovulation window, is it the same few days every cycle or does that keep changing?
So if the female has regular cycles, say for example 28 to 30 days, the ovulation window somewhere falls between day 14 to day 16. So having intercourse every alternate day from day 10 to day 20 helps them a lot. Because we can never be sure about the exact date of the ovulation. For somebody with regular cycles, it's better to try every alternate day between day 10 to day 20.
Makes sense. Okay. I'm 30 and not ready to get pregnant now, but my mom keeps saying my eggs are getting old. Is there a real window I should know about or is this just pressure? It's such a real question.
See, yes, the egg number or the ovarian reserve, it keeps on declining with the age. So check your ovarian reserve by doing a simple blood test called AMH. If it is fine, then we can take time. But if the AMH is low, then it indicates that our ovarian reserve is declining. Then in that case, either if we are career driven or not planning on getting pregnant anytime sooner, the better options would be egg freezing. Because the earlier you freeze the eggs, the more quality they will have and the more potential they will have at a later stage to turn into a good embryo.
Makes sense. I'm going to go get this test today.
Definitely.
So, this is another user who's done IVF once. So, they say, I've done IVF once, it failed, and my doctor wants to try again with a different protocol. I don't fully understand what changed or why this time would be different. How do I even ask the right questions without feeling stupid?
See, if the first cycle of IVF fails, we retrospectively see and analyze what could have been the issue in the previous cycle. So, changing the protocol, changing the injections and the drugs administered during the second cycle, using a different sperm selection technique, and giving the pre-medication, sometimes the new cohort of the follicles that are recruited also will make the difference and get us to a stage where we get the good results.
That makes sense. All right, we're done for the questions with today. Thank you so much. I've personally learned a lot from this interaction. I'm sure our users have too. Do you have any closing remarks or anything you want to say?
See, nothing much. These days, the fertility index is declining and the people are having fertility issue at a very early stage. So, why not get our parameters checked? Say, for example, we are marrying after the age of 30 and we still want some time before planning a baby. So, better get evaluated. If the parameters are fine, then take enough time. But if the parameters are poor, maybe why not act early? See, as we always say in the healthcare that prevention is better than cure, know your fertility parameters and then act accordingly. Rather than regretting at a later stage that why is the success rate low and why is it not happening naturally. So I think as a fertility consultant, because of the rising fertility in infertility cases these days, as the people are getting annual health checkups done, the fertility parameters also should be included in the annual health checkup. so that we get to a stage where we don't need so much of treatment and so much of time to get pregnant.
That makes sense. Okay, Dr. Ravanti, before I end this AMA session, I have to know what you think about the app. So, the Ask First app is built for health clarity. And because you're such an experienced doctor and you've seen so many patients, your opinion would mean a lot on what you think honestly about the app.
See, I have seen the app and I personally feel it is very much beneficial to the user or to the patient because they can share their experience within the community. They can ask Clary the AI and they can also ask doctor if they want to know anything further. So these are the three things that we have at one stop, which is very much beneficial to the user and which will help.
Thank you so much for the review. I think today's session in itself, just today's one session, has given me more clarity about fertility in health than being on the internet ever has. So, and I hope it was the same for you. This is the end of AMA with Doctors powered by Ask First, an app built for your health clarity. See you next time.